So let's get started, guys. So I think the good news is if you are here in this group, you've become problem aware. What I mean by this is like lots of people just cruise through life and they don't know why they don't feel a sense of like happiness or gratification. They're just like really annoyed at the world. I think the first thing is having the awareness to actually realize, look, I'm struggling with this weight thing. You've become problem aware. That's the first step to being able to go after some solutions. The good thing is it's not too late to change, okay? If you've got a heartbeat, it's not too late to change. And you've got an opportunity here to be a role model. And I always talk about the idea that this is your opportunity to be the person in your family that changes your lineage. We're so enslaved by genetics, you can be the person who makes the change. And the good news is there's free advice everywhere. You just get on Google or YouTube or TikTok and there is a ton of advice. The bad news is you've lost this weight before. Most people are in the situation where their weight's gone up and down over the course of their life. And so they failed a number of times. And if you're like most people, you already feel run down, like you're tired. And with each one of those failures to lose the weight, despite all the free advice that's out there, you feel like you're failing, right? And then there's a part of this where once you've read so many different things, you tend to become confused. I don't know about you guys, but you can end up in a hole of information where it seems like things contradict each other. So what ends up happening as a consequence of this is you spend a bunch of cash on shiny objects. You waste years and years and years and years of time trying to figure it out. And something that should have been simple has actually become complicated. You keep feeling like I'm failing, and it leads to you feeling crap. How many of you know this story? Like, let me know in the comments if you can totally resonate with this. And most of the time, people just give up until the cycle repeats, and finally, one day, you hit a breaking point, and you say to yourself, you know what? It must be now. So in this masterclass, a lot of you who are our clients, as I said, this is going to be a very simple recap. But for people who are not already in Better Body Academy, the goal of this masterclass is just to give it to you, a simple plan in 5 steps. I'm going to teach you why these 5 things work, and I'm not going to hold anything back. The challenge for you is going to be this. Can you commit to actually doing it? To finding the time? When you're already busy and feeling overwhelmed, can you actually take this information and not let it become just another PDF or another video training that you watch? Because this is what most people do. They watch things till the cows come home, but they don't actually act, and that's the actual problem. Can you move past the struggles? Can you stay motivated and do this on your own? The reality is, what I'm going to teach you today, a lot of you may already know, and there's a difference between knowing it and doing it. Are we on board with this? So what if instead I give you, instead of like this hope and pray strategy, like I hope I lose weight this week, what if we just gave you an epically simple system? This has worked for over 1,300 clients now. I was doing the maths last night. Instead of you hoping to stay motivated, you actually had a plan, some accountability in implementing this stuff. And what this would mean is that you'd no longer be wasting time and money and energy suffering. I reckon there's a good few of our clients that are watching this right now that can tell you the story of how long they suffered trying to figure it out by themselves, and then within 3 to 4 months, they got on track because they got a plan and they got some accountability. Let me know in the comments if you fit that bill, guys. So if we don't know each other already, to be clear, my name's Jay Stewart. I'm the founder and coach of Better Body Academy. I've got a degree in nutrition and training, and I help people love their lives by first changing their body. We are on a mission to help 1 million lives. This is a client day we did a couple of years ago when I returned home. I'm looking forward to seeing a bunch of your familiar faces when I get back there this time around in a couple of weeks. And along with my team, very small team of beautiful, dedicated coaches, that is our goal. The results speak for themselves. Transformation after transformation. If you follow us on social media, you will see it. This is a repeatable plan that we teach. Now, what I am going to do here is at the end of this masterclass, if you stick around, I have a pretty massive announcement. Okay? This is going to be very, very cool for a number of people. So let me ask you a question. If you feel like you're doing things, you're trying to get weight loss happening, but it's just not working, I want you to ask yourself, like, why is this? Like, what am I actually doing wrong? Because if you keep trying to do something that's not working, the chances are you're going to give up. And I would give up too. I would give up too if I'm putting in a bunch of money, time, and energy, but I'm not getting a return on that. That sounds like a pretty bad investment. For me, the major issue that most people are facing, problem number one, is that they're missing the foundations. I like to think of building the body of our dreams kind of like building a house. It's got to have two parts. It's got to have a simple plan, and then it's got to have some support and accountability to make sure that plan gets implemented. Because if it doesn't get implemented, you don't do it, then it can be the best plan in the world, but it doesn't work. So for most people, just from a high level, do you have a plan? Because if you don't have a plan, you are planning to fail. So this is the first thing we need to understand. The second thing goes to more the intricacies of the plan. So as an example, on the left-hand side here, we've built our house upon some good solid foundations of a simple plan and some accountability. But then we need the pillars in place to hold everything up. And inside of Better Body Academy, we look through this at the lens of nutrition and training, the things that actually help us to change our body, but then also addressing the mindset and the lifestyle components. If you don't do anything, if nothing changes about your mindset or your lifestyle, your house ends up falling over like the picture on the right-hand side. The truth of it is, everyone can lose weight in the short term, but that is not the struggle. It's keeping the weight off that's the problem. And today, I'm going to give you what you need to do, but most people need help with how to do it and how to stay on track. We start by asking these questions, at the start, it's like, oh, okay, I'm keen. I'm going to start a transformation. What's the best diet that I should do? What's the best workout that I should do? How much should I be sleeping? What do I need to give up? And there's just so many questions, it becomes confusing. It becomes completely confusing. But the truth is, and what we're going to talk about in this masterclass, we actually had a coaching call through the week with our ladies, and the point rose to the top. It's the people that are willing to do the very simple, boring things over and over again that win. The answers that I'm going to give you here are so boring and simple, you won't probably do them. And that's the reason that you're not seeing any change. You're not willing to do the boring work. If you are willing to do the boring work, guys, then actually transformation, at least in the early stages, the first 10 to 15 kilos of fat loss is actually really simple. So let's go with how to get unfat, 5 steps for melting body fat and getting back into your favorite clothes. What I'm going to do here is give you this analogy of taking all of the stuff in the fitness industry, and I'm going to shake it out. I'm going to shake out the garbage, and I'm going to tell you that it comes down to these 5 things. If you do these 5 things, you will change your body. For each one of these things that I'm going to give you, I'm going to give you the wrong way to do it and why it's a mistake. I'm going to tell you the right way to do it and why that works. And then I would love in the comments for you to rate yourself 1 to 4. Okay? Now that includes our clients, by the way. We've got 20 odd people watching this on live. Play along at home. I want you to rate yourself 1 to 4. And the reason we do that is that you can then work on that thing. So let's go. 1 to 5, I would think in this priority order. We need to eat mostly whole, natural foods. So let's start off with why this is actually a problem in society. Here's the thing, guys. See this picture below? What you've got is just a sample of what we call hyper-palatable foods. People complain all the time about how it's just so hard to lose weight. But what we're not consciously realizing is that the foods we're actually eating, they're not natural. They've actually been crafted in a lab with millions upon millions of cases of testing to refine the taste to make you consume the most amount possible. And that doesn't just mean increasing the sugar, the fat, and the salt in the actual product. It means the mouthfeel. So something like a donut or a chocolate bar, there is thousands of hours, millions of dollars of money invested into that product before it ever hits market shelves to ensure that it's perfect, because they don't release it until it's perfect. They test it on a small group of people, they refine it and test it and refine it and test it, and eventually it becomes hyper palatable, which basically means it tastes fucking good. It tastes fucking good by purpose, because the manufacturers know that if we can hook you in, guess what? You're going to buy more and more and more of the stuff. So the challenge that we face as a coach trying to coach our clients is breaking them away from the idea that you need to eat less food. Actually, you don't need to eat less food. In fact, if you've got an eat less food strategy, what ends up happening is you're hungry all the time. I find it so crazily ironic that we have people come into Better Body Academy every week that are putting on weight. They just don't know how to lose weight. Their weight's going up over time, yet they're hungry all the time. They join Better Body Academy, they start losing weight, but then they complain how they can't eat all the food we're prescribing to them in our meal plans. Don't you think that's just like crazy polarizing? And it happens because when you start to eat more whole foods as opposed to hyper-palatable foods, it's almost impossible to overeat. So what do we actually mean by whole foods? We just simply mean foods that are not in packaging, that are in their natural form. And look, there's an example down here in the picture. These foods are hard to overconsume because the processing has not been done by the manufacturer. So what ends up happening as a consequence is because they're in their natural state, they haven't been scientifically manufactured and tested. They're just an apple or they're just a piece of fish. What ends up happening is those foods are just lower in calories. So you have more water volume in these foods. You have more protein. You have more fiber in these foods. These foods are highly satiating. And guess what? It's really hard to overeat. Here's what most people do. They overeat hyper-palatable foods, which overrides our satiety signals. It sends messages to the brain in the same way that cocaine does to consume more and more and more of it, so we get hooked on it. So if the first change that you can possibly make, and if you take nothing else out of this masterclass at all, guys, it is this. Switch to eating more whole foods, which are going to be harder to overconsume because they're in their natural state, which means you're going to feel like a horse a lot of the time, chewing and chewing and chewing and chewing. It's just really, really hard. Even if it's something that is considered high calorie, like a fatty piece of steak, not many people can sit down and eat a 1 kilo steak every day, 3 times a day, and overconsume. It just doesn't work like that. But if I go back to the previous slide and I show you a pepperoni pizza and you go and consume it, we're talking about 3,000 to 4,000 calories in one pan. It's just instantly hyperpalatable and way over what we can tolerate as a human without packing on the good stuff, body fat. Okay? So the first one we need to know about is whole foods. What I want you to do in the comments is rate yourself. Now let's get involved, guys. There's 21 people watching on live, so don't sit on the fence and play at home. There's a reason that you get involved in these masterclasses, because when you participate in a two-way manner, it starts to ram at home for you. So what is it for you? The reason we choose a 4-part scale is that you can't sit on the fence. If I give you a 5-part scale, you can sit on the fence at number 3. Here, I want you to divide yourself into 1, 2, 3, or 4. If you are terrible at consuming predominantly whole foods, I want you to put a 1. If you're extremely good and it is by far and away the most predominant portion of your diet, I want you to put a 4. Come on, guys, get into the comments. Coaches, I want to see it in the comments. Let's go. Terry says absolutely a number 4. Yep, being one of our clients, I'd expect that to be the absolute truth. Guys, where are we? Number 4. We got 4s. Interesting. 3s. Okay. If you make this one change, guys, this one change, it makes all of the difference. 4 for now, at least. Good. Sean, 4. Good stuff. Okay. Jen says a 3. I think that's accurate for you, Jen. Beautiful. All right. So this is one area. Remember, the point of doing this activity is to ask yourself critically where you are. And I should say at this point in time, this does not mean that you cannot have any indulgence. Of course you can. But until you know, until you understand, or you have what I call a calorie consciousness, so you actually know what's in your food, then you're going to continue to struggle if you're looking down every day and all you've got's packets. Okay? Let's keep moving, guys. Let's keep moving. Number 2. If you're one of our clients, you know this one backwards because it's probably echoing in your brain every time you hear me open my mouth. Do not drink your calories. Now, when I say that, everyone automatically thinks that I'm talking about alcohol, and I'm not. Okay? Let's actually separate alcohol out for now. The vast majority of people are just simply unaware of the impact of liquid calories on their total daily calorie intake. Okay, I'll give you an example. Having a conversation with one of my clients the other day, he's very new with us, and he tells me that he drinks 6 Red Bulls a day. Okay, and he's got to do that to keep his energy up. Well, we did a quick Google search and found out that there's about 1,000 calories there. So given the average man is going to maintain weight at somewhere around 2,500 calories, this is basically saying that half of his daily calorie allowance is being delivered in fluid form. And what's the problem with fluids? Number 1, they don't, unlike whole foods, they don't require any chewing, right? So it goes in. It's literally chewing equals work. So having fluids is like hardline injecting calories. It's like injecting heroin, but instead you're injecting calories. And that's the image that I want you to get. And so if we think of something like a glass of orange juice, we label this as healthy and we give it to our kids. Now, unless you understand or you have a calorie consciousness, it would be reasonable to consume that that's a fair assessment, right? After all, it's oranges. But let's talk about the fact that this glass of orange juice, a 12-ounce glass of orange juice or, 300 or 400 mils, it's probably going to take 4 oranges, maybe 4 to 5 oranges to squeeze out that much orange juice. Now, would you ever sit down and have 4 to 5 oranges in one go? Never in a life would you do that. And it's not that oranges are bad at all. Oranges and fruit is fantastic. But following off our previous thoughts, if it's not a whole food, you're essentially, orange juice is a consumed, even if it's fresh squeezed orange juice with no sugar added, you're having effectively 5 oranges at one go. You would never eat 5 oranges in one go, right? And so it actually contains more calories than a can of Coke. So this is where I see parents making big mistakes when they're sending their kid to school with poppers or juice boxes. They're literally liquid calories. Now, again, I can totally see the ignorance in the mistake, the naivety. We think we're doing the right thing. Juice is better than Coke, right? Well, Yes, it's got more vitamins, but that's about it. And so what do we do here? How do we get around this? The change that needs to be made, and when we talk about water, everyone goes, oh, that's boring. And totally fine. I am personally not the massivest fan of drinking water on its own either. So what I do is prioritize 0 or low calorie beverages, mostly 0 calorie beverages, in the way of things like naturally sweetened mineral water. Just like very simple change to make. Now, to those of you that are heavy on sodas like full fat Coke and, Fanta and the like, or you love to go out on the weekend and, have a bourbon and Coke or a rum and Coke or whatever it is for you, like there are stages of change that you can make. You don't have to go cold turkey on this stuff. But what you can do is you can move from having bourbon and Coke, full fat Coke, to bourbon and Diet Coke. So you're still having the alcohol, you still get the same amount of piston enjoyment, but you're just not getting all of the sugar that goes with it. So you move to a Diet Coke, and before you say, but Diet Coke causes cancer, dude, I'm just going to tell you straight away, dude being the affectionate term of whether you're a guy or a girl, I'm going to tell you straight away that you're far greater risk of dying of heart attack or diabetes as a consequence of being overweight than you ever are of dying of cancer due to having 1 or 2 Diet Cokes a day. So then we talk about alcohol calories. Okay, what do we do with our alcohol calories? Look, I'm never going to be the coach because my specialty is dealing with red-blooded males that love a beer, right? But I'm never going to say to them you shouldn't drink, because the reality is that's a choice of morality and their own health. What I am going to say to you is that you can have a beer, but you can have one beer that has half the calories of the other one. Just have the one that's got half the calories. In the best case scenario, this means you can drink double the beers, toddy. Or have half the calories. It's just like for me, there are some very simple changes that we can make. And for me, it's just that I just don't drink full fat beer anymore. I just don't drink full calorie beers anymore. Why would I when I've got a simple choice that I can make, which is going to contain half the calories? Some examples might include Burley Big Heads in Australia, or Better Body Beers in Australia. Better beers, better body beers. Or examples in the US, for example, we've got Michael's Ultra, super low calorie. And so we're talking about literally halving the entire calories. So here we are on the rating scale, guys. Where are you on 1 to 4? 1 being fluids are your nemesis. Fluids are your big problem. 4 being a hell yes, I'm all over this. I consume mainly water. And to be honest, I don't really have full fat coffee. I don't have full fat soda. I'm literally not getting many calories at all through my fluids. This is where you want to be. If I am completely honest, me personally, I am absolutely a 4 in this. And it's really funny because all my star clients are in the comments giving us 3s and 4s. And this is the reason why you're controlling your weight. The only calories that I drink at all are skim milk in my coffee, whether it's a latte or an instant coffee, or low-calorie beers. There are no other liquid calories in my diet at all. And that doesn't mean I'm thirsty and parched all the time. I'm just making low or no calorie choices. Okay, so lots of 3s, lots of 4s. I'm a bit annoyed that I can't see who it is, but I was a 1, now I'm a 3. This is fantastic, good stuff. I love my half-sweet mochas, but everything else is mostly water. So here's a great example of a substitution that you can make, a half-sweet mocha. You've just cut out a bunch of calories. Erin says, 4 now, but used to love a coffee frapper with an extra, all these different things. And you know what? Like, it is so, hey, Tori, it is so inherent, particularly in American culture, to be able to get up and have your Starbucks, and we do this and we just don't realize that big grande latte that contains full fat with all the stuff on top, that's like 400 to 500 calories. Just impossible to offset with any form of exercise. Okay, so good rating, guys. Let's keep going with this. Next one up. So far we've got eat your whole foods predominantly. Don't drink your calories. Now, this one here is going to be the one that needs to be heard probably the most by most people. And as soon as I say get enough sleep, I think of a number of clients that constantly write back to me at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I think to myself, okay, how do I try to get people to understand the impact that lack of sleep is actually having? Now, if the lack of sleep is coming from kids, young kids, like it is for me right now, there's just not that much you can do about that, right? This is something that we need to kind of cater for. We can't do much about this. But when you are staying up and seeing sleep as dispensable, you know what, I can just get by. I think this is the inherent problem, is that we haven't connected the link between lack of sleep and our weight. So I'm going to do my best right now to connect the two for you and tell you why this is actually important. Sleep debt works like credit card debt. Let me clarify. We build up credit card debt. If we spend the money on our credit card, we don't get the opportunity to say, oh, you know what, we're not going to pay for that. Essentially, we get a 30, 40, 50 or 60 day leeway, and then the bank comes after us, right? They don't just say, oh, you know what, you'd have a tough period, things have been tough, we'll just let you pass on that $2,000, just owe us when you got the money. They come after it. This is exactly how sleep works and sleep debt works. If you do not repay the sleep debt, it accumulates and accumulates and accumulates and eventually just cracks you open. Now, what are the problems with this? Let's divide them into twofold. There are hormonal problems and there are behavioral problems. Let's talk about the hormonal problems. What happens when you're underslept is you have a rise in the stress-based hormones that mobilize fat supplies, store fat supplies, and create cravings. Your body is in a stress-based, anxious-based position, right? It's wondering, why the fuck is Tori awake at this time? And so what it does is releases these hormones as a stress response, the flight or fight response. One of these hormones, namely, is called cortisol. And cortisol's role is to create cravings so that you will eat. This is why shift work is one of the very most difficult lifestyle components to negotiate. It's so freaking hard to get around this. Anyone that does shift work, nurses, miners, know exactly what we're talking about. Servicemen know exactly what we're talking about. It's just a complete mindfuck in terms of your ability to get around it, particularly if you don't have consistency in the shifts. So the first problem that you're going to run into is hormonal issues. Okay? For men, it's going to be a massive dampener on your testosterone level. I find it ironic that, particularly in North America, where I currently reside most of my time, it is literally every second guy you see is on TRT, right? Now, I'm not saying that is unwarranted to go to a hormonal solution, but what I can tell you is that you're going to get a far better response in terms of your total lifestyle and your total testosterone level. If you feel like your libido is smashed to pieces, you can't get a boner, sorry ladies, we're going to go there, you're constantly flat and no energy, it's because your test is being suppressed by your stress and lack of sleep. Tell this to your partner if they're not sleeping, if they're staying up looking at Netflix. See, the challenge is we think sleep is dispensable, and it's just not. The second thing that it does, lack of sleep, is causes behavioral problems. I want you to think about where your willpower is when you feel deflated, when you feel tired. Where is your willpower? Are you more likely to choose the Black Forest slab of chocolate cake or get knuckle deep in a bowl of ice cream after 2-3 hours of sleep and you're being so tired? Or being well slept, feeling like you've recharged on your stress levels overnight, and then maybe it comes to Saturday night Are you going to be able to control that? Now, again, we're not trying to sterilize our life at all. And, I want to address something that I've been thinking about a lot to make sure that I'm not personally becoming a hypocrite. Okay? I go away to work to sleep. Yeah, I love that. So let me just kind of address something, because if you're inside Better Body Academy, you know that to cater for our Australian crew, I wake up at 2:30 most mornings and run a coaching call at 3 o'clock, and I am sacrificing sleep to do that. Okay. Does this make me a hypocrite? In a way, yes. In a way, yes, it does. Okay? 2 points I want to raise. I don't have a weight problem. If you have a weight problem and you're not sleeping, then you need to ask yourself, well, what's more important? And if it is that whatever it is that's keeping you awake is more important, then totally understand. I don't have a weight problem. What I do know is that it's compromising my gains in the gym. It is compromising my energy levels. And what I try to do is, once I realize that I'm redlining a little bit, I just take daily naps. And so what I am doing is repaying that credit card debt, only it's sleep debt, in small amounts. Are you with me, guys? So let's ask you, what do you do about it? I want you to understand that sleep is not the problem, it's the solution. I've got it at number 3. I've got it ahead of the next 2 things that I'm going to talk about. I've got it behind whole foods and don't drink your calories. So if you are struggling to lose weight, please, particularly if you're a client of ours, go to bed. Take the advice. We had one of our ladies show up to a coaching call through the week. Shout out to Miss Amy Richards. And she said, I'm just feeling great because of the fact that I'm actually sleeping. Now, we've got a question here that says, any suggestions on how to shut off an overthinking mind? What a great question. So, look, very difficult, okay? I'm going to give you a couple of quick tips because I don't want to open up a Pandora's box and start to deviate too much. But the basics of it are this. I would suggest, and this was a really good coaching piece from Coach Mike, given on a coaching call the other day, is to have a notebook by your bed. Overthinking mind meaning that you're caught in your head. When we download the information and actually organize out or dump out what we're thinking, this can go a long way. So that's the first point. The second point, and actually Terry's brought it up here, if you're not already doing this, exercise is part of the solution to overthinking. The third thing that I do want to kind of bring up is having some sort of a clearance or meditation practice. Now, the moment that I say meditation, everyone goes to the whole I wouldn't do meditation. And look, it's not for everyone. But what I mean by this is, if you think of your mind like a bed, okay, and every day you make your bed, you pull the wrinkles out of the sheets, and you start every day fresh, okay? This is what I mean by a meditation or mindfulness practice. Now, I could go into loads of detail, and maybe we'll do a workshop on this soon. But the basics of an overthinking mind is that you need to get out of your head and dump it onto paper. Number 2, you need to make sure that you're actually tired. So you might be physically tired, but not brain tired. For me, the moment I stop lifting weights, my brain, of all things, is not tired anymore. So I know that when I lift weights. Does anyone have the same thing? Terry, do you have the same thing? When I lift weights, I sleep like a baby. It's not just because I'm body tired, but my central nervous system is tired. One of the most taxing things about lifting weights is the taxation of your central nervous system. The third thing is having some sort of a practice. So what we do here, as it says in the slide, is a sleep hygiene study. That's just sounds like fancy words for saying, well, what's my environment like? What's my sleep environment like? And what's my sleep behavior like? So where are we, guys, on a scale of 1, 2, 3, and 4? Number 4, you have a really good sleep practice. you feel like, now I'm not going to tell you that you need to have X amount of sleep per day because the science suggests that that varies for different people. But do you feel like you are getting enough sleep? This is my question. Do you feel like you are getting enough sleep? Okay, I like this. I've been getting 5 hours for years. Lately, I get sleepy midday. Well, there could be reasons for that. There could be reasons. It could just be an increase in work. It could be changes to your circadian rhythms. It could be plus or minus weight gain. There's a ton of different changes that can happen. It could actually be, now, for some reason, I haven't been able to display all of the Facebook comments here. It might just be, for example, if this was a woman, I can't see who it is, I apologize. It could be that you're getting close to menopause. That's going to be funny if that's a guy. But this can be a real interruption. If any of you were able to catch the podcast episode that I did with Australia's top GP, Dr. Ginny Mansberg, she talked about this in the podcast, that the number one symptom that most women get, apart from the flushing when they get towards menopause, is just their sleep goes to shit. Okay? So let's have a look. We've got some 2s, some 1s, some 3s. Good stuff. All right, let's get on to the next one. So far, guys, we've got number 1, we've got eat your whole foods. Number 2, we've got don't drink your calories. Number 3 in this order, we've got sleep. Get enough sleep. Jacqueline Chan, I'm jealous. Brian posted that. Okay, Brian, got you. Let's have a chat about that, Brian. All right, next up, lifting weights. Okay, now this one here is, for me, the one that I love talking about the most. It is the one that I love talking about the most. Here is the struggle. Remember, we're starting off each day with the struggle, with the problem with what we're currently doing. As we get older and less active, we undergo a process called sarcopenia. If we break the Latin roots of this word down, it breaks down as sarco, meaning muscle, penia, meaning shrinking, muscle shrinking. So as you get older, you lose about 1% of your muscle mass per year. So you can imagine that if you're 50 and you don't do any training, by the time you're 60, you're going to have a lot less muscle. Now, on the converse, we have this complete misperception around muscle. You guys think that you're going to walk in a gym and all of a sudden do 2 workouts a week, take some creatine, and turn into The Rock. Like, I don't know if The Rock's still trying to pretend that he's not on steroids, but he's on fucking steroids 1,000,000%. To grow this stuff is so difficult. And I use myself as a great example. I've been training since I was 10 years old. Now, I have never taken a steroid, but I've been training consistently since I was 10 years old. I've got good form, I'm pretty strong for my size, and I'm really not that big. And I'm pushing it. And so the chances of you being a lady, as an example, and coming into the gym and all of a sudden turning into The Rock just because you did a set of squats, I'm going to use my horrible Australian language to explain to you how realistic this is. It's almost fucking impossible. Okay, now I say this for effect, but you're just not going to get bulky. And the perceptions, even from men, I think men have this feeling, I take applications for Better Body Academy, and some men say, I'm not interested in getting bulky. And I think to myself, and of course I don't reply this way, but my answer is, dude, the very best thing you could do is hope to get bulky. It's not going to happen. Your testosterone is in the pits. Your lifestyle's in the shit. You're not going to get bulky. If you can put on muscle, if you can do this, you're going to be working against the degradation that your body is undergoing naturally as time passes. Any muscle that you can build when you're 30, 40, or 50 that benefits you when you're 60, 70, and 80. But the thing is, we're not thinking that far ahead, are we? We don't really care about that. We care about how we look now. So let's speak through the lens of how we look. If you're a lady and you want to put on a dress and you don't want it to hang off you like a plastic bag, well, guess what? Having some level of muscle is going to look good. If you're a lady that's carrying a lot of weight at the moment, a lot of the body fat, okay, it doesn't matter where it is. I want you to think of the analogy of an orange or a mandarin. Here's the skin, here's the muscle underneath. Okay, so this is the orange. What's going to happen when we peel the skin off? Underneath that, we're going to see some level of tonality or not. Once we lose the fat or peel back on some of that body fat, in other words, reduce our body fat percentage, don't we want to kind of have some tone underneath it? By the way, for everyone that uses the word tone, tone just means muscle mass. But ladies think there's a difference between tone and muscle. There's no such thing as tone. Okay? I'm just going to bust that one for you. There's no such thing as tone. Tone just means I've got some muscle, some definition, and not a lot of body fat. So when you say I want to get toned, not muscly, what you're basically saying is that I just want to have some muscle, but I don't want to be too big. And there are ways that we can format programs to make sure that even if all hell breaks loose and you start to put on some muscle, you don't gain too much muscle. Now, I also want to just briefly touch on the fact that when the solution to fat loss is cardio, like our love on the treadmill here, you are playing a game that you are never going to win. I come up with an analogy this morning to try to explain this as best as I can. If you are using cardiovascular training to run off the fat as your predominant form of exercise, or you're like one of those ladies that's in the classes doing these things, right? Looks like I've got no pants on, doesn't it? If you're jumping around in your living room, burning calories, this is the equivalent of you trying to fill up a pool in a backyard with a watering can. Can you do it? Yes. Is it efficient? Highly inefficient. And we're going to talk about what the alternative is. This is the magic of building muscle and strength. Not only does it have quality of life, we refer back to Dr. Ginny again, who talked about the way that life ends for so many people. They lose their muscle strength and tone. And what basically happens is they become weak. They have a fall. When they have a fall, they fracture their hip. When they fracture their hip, it puts them out of movement. They're sitting up. They sit up, they gain weight, which means they can't move, and eventually they go to a home and die. Now that sounds pretty horrible. But no one's thinking about that because it's 20, 30, 50 years in the future. Who has a relative? Guys, there's 25 people watching on live. Who has a relative that they can say went down that exact path? And I look at my mama right now. I look at my mama and my dad, and I see them going down to the gym 2, 3, 4 times a week. And I think this is the best thing that they could possibly be doing for their retirement. When you build muscle, or at least don't let muscle dissolve at the rate that it's going to dissolve if you don't do anything, what you're actually doing is building the machinery of the future that is going to burn the calories so that you don't have to do all that cardio. When I go away on a holiday, I actually end up looking better after 3 or 4 days. And that happens because my body gets a break, I get a little bit of a sleep in, and then I have the muscle mass to just burn through the calories. My body goes, wow, this is great. I've got these calories now. I can start firing properly. So when you build muscle, you build the machinery to do this for the rest of your life at ease. Inside Better Body Academy, our goal is not to shrink your calories down, have you minimize as a person, hit your target weight, and then go, oh, now what? I'm a little weak little individual. That's horrible. Our goal is the exact opposite, and that includes for our women. What we are wanting to do is build your capacity. We want to turn you into a beautiful, strong woman, man with good mobility, good strength, a little bit of muscle, reduce the body fat, and guess what? You're going to burn calories at a rate that you will not believe. People are not looking at you. One of the biggest hurdles to overcome is gym intimidation. There's a name for it. I can tell you guys, everyone is so caught up in their own fucking head, they are not looking at you, even if it looks like they're looking at you. They are staring into space, they're talking to themselves, they don't care about you. And if the reason that you're not doing this is that you're scared of the judgment, I just want to remind you of the fact that you're going to get old, you're going to fall over, you're going to fracture your hip, and then you're going to end up in the home by yourself, dissolving away. That is not an existence that you want. And if I have to be the one that comes off rude to be able to give you that, I'm happy to take the risk. I've got a comment here. Owner of a gym I went to said cardio isn't necessary. Intense weight training is all you need. This is absolutely true. Cardio can be beneficial, but particularly for someone that is carrying weight, and we're going to talk about this finally in a moment, it isn't necessary. As I said, it's like trying to fill a pool with a watering can. You're going to go out and do all this cardio. The moment you stop doing the cardio, the burning stops. If you've built muscle, the burning continues. When you're sleeping there, when you're sitting on your lounge, when you're watching Netflix, you got more muscle mass, you burn more calories. So where are you guys? Where are you? Where are we on the 1 to 4? Are you a hell yes, or are you a meh? I'm still not sold. I'm trying to get myself up for it. What are we talking about? Hit me in the comments before we get to the last one, guys. All right. 4, 4, 4, 4, 2, 3. I love it, Jack. Good stuff. All right, let's get to the final one. Keep rating team. So the final one, can anyone guess what it's going to be, by the way? So far we've had a Whole Foods, don't drink your calories. We've had get enough sleep, resistance training. Can anyone give us one more? Now, remember what we're doing here, guys, is we're talking about the 5 most potent solutions for long-term weight management, not just like quick fix stuff. Okay? What is it going to be? Who can give it to me? Come on. In the comments. Can we get any guesses in? Ooh, yeah, there we go. Couple of Better Body Academy clients, coach. Yep. Hey, listen, whoever said accountability, that is absolutely true. That is definitely true. We're talking about the practical steps here. And here we go. Walking everywhere you can. Walking everywhere you can. And Sean, you're absolutely right. And whoever said prep, you're absolutely right. Lifestyle and prep, yes, absolutely. But what we're doing is, and planning it, yes, absolutely true. But I want to give the practical things. This is what you need to do. And that is, you should attempt to walk as much as possible. And here is the reason why. We think of movement as complete inconvenience. We think of movement as complete inconvenience. It's kind of like, fuck, the shop's over there. One day, we're going to wish that we had movement. We've got to flip this up the right way. Since 1950, there has been an 83% increase in physically inactive jobs. So this combined with the convenience of modern technology has meant that we're just doing nothing anymore. And the thought is that, really, is walking actually going to do anything? I'm going to tell you why in a minute. But the picture of the man and the woman here is, that's the society now, and it's great. And I'm exactly the same. For the record, I spend 12 hours a day in front of a laptop. So I'm not saying that, well, it is bad, but if we just accept that, then we become a product of it. And so what do? Well, I want to see if you can stick with me to understand this, because if you understand it, you will do it. As exercise increases, so as a person decides to lift weights, what typically happens is their incidental activity drops. Okay? So let me give you the example. You go and do a really big weight session, and after it, your nervous system and your body is tired, right? So you need to sit down and have a little bit of a breather. So what actually ends up happening is that, let's just pretend you're getting 8 hours sleep a day and you're awake for 16. Of that 16 hours, you do this 1 hour of exercise, the vigorous 1 hour of exercise. But then in the other 15 hours that you're awake, activity levels drop. Can you please let me know you are with me, guys, in this? With the numbers. Are you with me in the numbers? Okay? So the 16 hours that we're awake, okay, it might be a bit more, it might be a bit less. We're 16 hours awake. We are vigorously working out in the gym, let's say, or if you're doing cardio, and it also applies to cardio, you're doing 1 hour of intense exercise. And then because you're doing this intense exercise, it's the intensity rises, the demand on your body rises, and as a consequence of you increasing the demand of that hour of exercise, the other 15 hours that you are awake, the activity suppresses because you're tired. So when we track our steps, this gives us an ability to make sure that in those 15 hours, there is a bottom floor in the minimum amount of exercise that we are doing, of activity that we are doing in the other 15 hours. As an example, some of us are at the moment practicing to run a marathon. One of the crazy things I've noticed about trying to run a marathon, and it sounds very obvious, is that for the rest of the day, Terry, Nick, would you agree? You're really tired, like extremely tired. So what can happen is for that 1, 2, or 3 hours that you're running, your calorie burning skyrockets. But for the other 13, 14, or 15 hours that you're not running, you're extremely tired, and so your calorie burning goes back down to the floor, less than what it would be. So the other part to cardio is that unless you're aware of your incidental activity and you keep yourself moving when you're not exercising, cardio can actually work against you from a calorie burning perspective. You put so much effort into the running that for the other 15 hours that you're awake, you're so freaking tired. And so because you're so tired, you're not moving anymore of those 15 hours. And so your total daily calorie expenditure goes right down. Does this make sense? So, questions. Where are we on the ranking? And what I want you to do is comment where you are, 1 to 4, and you're not allowed to sit in the middle, right? You can't be 2.5. You're commenting 1 to 4. What I also want you to do is, let's go over and review the 5 things that we've just talked about. And I want to tell you, so whoever said, wow, that makes so much sense, I'm glad that hit the mark. And now you can get yourself into a gym. So let's go over the thing that stood out for you. What's the thing that you feel like you can improve on the most? Okay. Now, this isn't exclusive. There are other things. But if you were to give me 5 things, I just gave you the blueprint in the order that I would rank them. Okay? Eating whole foods is the best change you can make if you've got a weight problem. Okay? Next up, don't drink your calories. Liquid calories is hard lining. Number 3, if you've got the first 2 good, then you need to sleep more. Now, if your sleep's good, you need to start lifting. Now, if you've already lifted and you got the sleep and you got the calories cut from the liquids and you've got the whole foods happening predominantly, then you need to walk more. And if you're in that vicinity and you've got all 5 of those things and you've still got a weight problem, then you're an enigma. It's almost impossible. You're almost you must be eating 17 breasts of chicken a night. Like, I don't actually know how it's possible over the long term we're talking about here. Does this make sense, guys? Look, 2/3 of people are overweight. The default for the population is that there are processed foods, most people's consumption, they're drinking their fluids, they're in chronic fatigue all the time, they're constantly tired, they've got no muscle, little strength, and they've got a low movement life. And we try to change from this perspective, and it's very hard and it's very, very overwhelming. And so now you know what to do. You've just got a 5-piece blueprint. And so the question is, can you do it on your own? I want to come back to the greatest problem that most people struggle with is they kind of know what to do, but they just can't get themselves to do it for any extended period of time. You don't have a motivation problem. Okay, can I make this very, very clear? You do not have a motivation problem. Do you know every person that applies with Better Body Academy tells me that their biggest problem is motivation? Your biggest problem is not motivation. Your biggest problem is that you're busy. You're a human, you're not a robot, and you've got no accountability. And so what happens is when your life gets busy, all of a sudden you cheat on yourself. It's not because you're a bad person. I do the same thing, and it's the reason why I pay 3 coaches to keep me accountable. The great thing about this, actually, and I've just had this moment of thought now, is I'm kept accountable by you, my clients, because if I don't show up, I let you down. This is what community accountability looks like. So even at the level of coach, I have 3 coaches, which gives me coach accountability, and I've got community accountability, which gives me peer accountability. Now, we talk about whoever's got the comment here, I find all are manageable. Yeah, everything's manageable. There is nothing on that masterclass which is like, holy shit, I didn't know that. Maybe the relevance of why it's important become more apparent. But you knew that you had to work more, walk more. You knew that it would be pretty good if you did the gym, but you're not doing it. And the reason you're not doing it is not because you're not motivated. It's because you don't have any accountability. So let me ask you the question. Would it be easier if instead of just giving you the what, we held your hand right through the process and gave you the how, and then gave you the support to implement? Would that be easier? As an example, we won't just tell you to eat whole foods. We will give you the meal plan laid out. We'll give you the shopping guide. We'll tell you the calories. We'll give you some ebooks. We'll tell you which step act to track. We're going to give you an app-based training formula. We're going to give you weekly and daily check-ins. We're going to do a Q&A every week with you. We do 4 coaching calls a week. We do monthly workshops on a different topic. The 2 last workshops that we've done are the squat workshop and the deadlift workshop. Would it help you if you were part of a community? Now, to everyone in Weight Loss Transformation Academy, our free community, we're only really just getting started on this, and totally put my hand up that it takes a while to catch on because people are nervous about their weight loss journey. But once you become a client, things are very, very different. Do I have permission for showing you guys inside of our community so that you get a bit of an idea of what I am talking about? And so let's talk about this. Let's share in terms of the app. So guys, for the clients, I'm just going to let you know that this is something that I've been working on. You're going to have access to this very soon, and it's no longer going to be at the end of 6 months. This is going to be renamed as the Vault. And I'm suggesting everyone hangs around here, particularly if you're not a client, because as I promised at the start, I'm going to be putting something out here which is pretty damn valuable. So here we've got the new member portal. Inside the member portal, you're going to have access to an ever-growing list of meal plans that you can download straight from the members portal. So rather than you needing to think about what you need to do, it's all in here for you. Or what about the recipe books? It wasn't just the 5 ingredients flavor bomb one that we've created. There's actually a total of 8 recipe books that everyone inside of Better Body Academy will have access to in the next couple of weeks. If we go into the recipe database, members of Elite will already know about this. Literally hundreds of recipes where we give them all to you, laid out for you with pictures and printable meal plans. Inside here, we've been working on our cheat sheet guides. All of the PDFs that I've been producing for you guys, they're all here at your disposal. Information, information, information. Now, inside of our client group, I want to show you perhaps our women's client group and just how active this clients group is, with ladies around the world sharing their wins. Everything from Stacey looks like she's just got herself a job interview, to meals that they're creating, to Wendy in Scotland that's just climbed to the top of a mountain. It's accountability that you need. It's often not just the what. This is Coach Mike talking about DOMs. Good stuff, Mike. I love it. It's about having a community that you can be part of where you share your struggles. Definitely not my best week, though I am proud of myself for sticking to it. Ladies and gentlemen, can I just read? I hope, Steve, I know that you're watching this, and I hope you don't mind me reading this out. I'm absolutely loving this. Blokes can and will always rip into one another and take the piss out of one another, but there's no judgment here. It's such a great place and an environment and a fucking fantastic family. And you have allowed me to be part of it. It makes me want to be more and do more and better myself. It's been such a long period of time. If you go to our website, you'll see all the transformations, literally hundreds upon hundreds of them. And so the question I've got for you is coming back to the same point, is that if you can do it on your own, do it. But most people can't. They don't have a motivation problem. They have an accountability problem, which is why I'm going to announce a little bit of a giveaway. And here it is. I am giving away this week, running over the next 3 to 4 days, an opportunity for one of you to get a full 6-month scholarship to Better Body Academy, completely paid for by me. It's free. Okay? I want to change someone's life. And I want to show the rest of you just what happens when you get this accountability. Now, if you are one of our lovely, very appreciative clients, no, you cannot apply, just so you got this clear. This is to pull someone who is scared to take action and get them to trust the process. I'm going to give you the entire 6 months for free. And all you need to do is shoot me a DM and say, Jace, give me the details. I want to talk about it. My whole goal here is to make a mark on the world. And with these coaches that we've got, the truth is, like, if you can do it on your own, like, absolutely, we would love that. This is why we run this free group, to try and inspire people to take action. But if you value your time and you think to yourself, you know what, like, I'm just sick of feeling like this. Like, every single person that is in this group that's a client of ours knows exactly what you're going through, because they were exactly the same. They were exactly the same. Nick Friend was exactly the same. Terry Holden was exactly the same. Warren Todd was exactly the same. All of the girls, exactly the same. What happens is people wait until they bottom out, till they reach a point where finally things get so fucked that it's the only option. And my plea to anyone that is watching this masterclass is to say that, look, it's simple. Actually, what you need to do is simple. But if you're struggling to get yourself moving, You don't have a motivation problem. You have an accountability problem. And we can help you if you want the help so that you don't have to guess between the what and the how. We give you the how, and then we take you accountability and support to the next level to hold you accountable to that how. Does this make sense, guys? So I'm going to love you and leave you there. Hopefully this has been helpful. As I said to our extremely valued clients, we appreciate the shit out of you. We love you guys so much.